Oh, this one's going to be good tonight. Cardinals, Seahawks in Seattle just hours away. We're here to get you ready for all of it and more. Dan Orlovsky, give me a matchup to watch tonight.
One-on-one. I want to watch DK Metcalf versus Patrick Peterson. DK Metcalf coming off that 2-catch for 28-yard performance last week. Patrick Peterson coming off an interception himself. I want to see who wins that battle. DK Metcalf's got to answer. He's got to answer last week's shutout from Jalen Ramsey. I want to watch these one-and-ones compete against each other tonight.
I hear you, Dan. I hear you loud and clear, big dog. I'm going to follow you up and say this. Hey, you got to remember, Jamal Adams was not there the first time around when they played the Cardinals, and neither was Carlos Dunlap. Dunlap could bring part of those 85 sacks that he has in his career to the party tonight, and Seattle can win the football game. Otherwise, they're going to get blew out the building.
Ooh.
Speaking of Jamal Adams, Key, I'm looking for his matchup against Kyler Murray. If I might take y'all back to the first game, Budda Baker played a huge role in the success that the Arizona Cardinals had. I want to see if Jamal Adams for the Seattle defense can have that type of impact against Kyler Murray and this offense for Arizona tonight.
All right, Marcus, there are major running back questions for Seattle. Chris Carson is listed as questionable. I'm told he's unlikely to play, which would mean that Carlos Hyde, Alex Collins, DJ Dallas would have to carry the load for Seattle tonight, which looks like it will be without Chris Carson.
Welcome to NFL Live, everyone. Week 11 begins tonight, as we said, and stay tuned for our game picks. We're going to pick that Cardinals-Seahawks game that's coming your way, as well as one person here saying the Patriots are making the playoffs and everybody else disagreeing. Keyshawn Johnson's right there, Dan Orlovsky here. You saw Marcus Spears and Adam Schefter. Let's get right to it and get your popcorn ready for this one, Week 11. We've got the Chiefs and the Raiders on Sunday night. And remember, Vegas handed Kansas City its only blemish in 2020 back in Week 5. Remember, the Raiders defense got after Patrick Mahomes, pressuring him 29 times. That's tied for the most QB pressures in any single game so far in 2020. Offensively, Derek Carr went 4 of 5 with 2 touchdowns on passes, 25 yards downfield. Carr 6 of 18 with 1 TD on such passes in all other games this year. But FPI gives the Chiefs an edge Sunday with a 76% chance to win. The Raiders haven't swept the Chiefs in the regular season since 2012. Marcus, we always talk about stopping this Chiefs offense, but you think the key to win is on the other side of the ball. Why?
Yeah, you don't stop this Chiefs offense. That's the reality, Els. You have to outscore them. You have to outduel them with explosive plays. And look, in the first meeting with the Las Vegas Raiders, the Raiders hit 7 plays of 20-plus more yards, and 3 or 4 of them went for touchdowns. That's how you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You take advantage of Spagnuolo and the blitz and one-on-one with Ruggs, who's a burner. You find those matchups with Waller on the second level, the tight end, and you make guys make one-on-one plays. And that's what the success was for the Las Vegas Raiders and John Gruden. Listen, for all intents and purposes, the Kansas City Chiefs scored 32 points, didn't play bad, went into halftime with a lead. So the resilience of this Las Vegas offense, with John Gruden continuing to mash the gas and score points, and then at the end of the game be able to milk the clock and not get a ball back to Patrick Mahomes. That's what you have to do, offensively be explosive.
You're right, Marcus. You got to push the football down the field, and you know this as well as anybody, Dan, having been on the offensive side of the ball playing quarterback. The game plan's not going to change.
Right.
You beat them the first time around with the game plan. Why would you change it? Yes, you'll have different wrinkles in there, some plays that you've seen other opponents hit against them. You'll add to that list. But for the most part, John Gruden's going to run the football. He's going to dink and dunk when he needs to, and he's going to take his shot downfield with Henry Ruggs as well as Aguilar, as well as the tight end Waller. That's what you do. You're not going to all of a sudden decide that, okay, well, this is what we're going to do because they know what we did to them last week.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that in the National Football League.
Yeah, the Chiefs are the one team in the NFL that there is a very specific formula on how to beat them. One, you got to be explosive on offense. You have to do that. That's what Marcus talked about with those 7 plus 20-yard plays. Number 2, you've got to minimize their possessions. This is great because the Raiders are the best third-down team offensively in the NFL. They had 36 minutes of time of possession the first time they played, so that matters. But then you also have to force that offense to kind of hit singles. There's such a home run hitting offense, and that's what really changed in the first game. In the first game, the Chiefs scored 24 points in the first half. They had 24 on them because they played a ton of man coverage. The Raiders did early on, and that happened. Mahomes was like, all right, here comes this gut session. And then in the second half, they started to change a little bit up. They didn't let him do stuff like this, where he got out of the pocket and went to kind of attack your defense. They played zone. They got after him in the rush. They didn't commit until he got past the line of scrimmage. The defensive line fell back when he decided to move, and then they doubled Kelsey in certain situations. Max Crosby's got to have a big game where he makes his rush and then spins back. So as much as I love Marcus, it's not just, hey, you got to outscore him. Like, this is a complete picture to beat the defending Super Bowl champions. You've got to do that checklist. If you watch that game, the Raiders did all three. Can they do it again is the big question Sunday night.
And Marcus, you said there was one play in that previous matchup between these two teams that swung the entire game in the Raiders' favor.
Yeah, Els, there was a scramble with Patrick Mahomes on 3rd and 20. All right, and this is what he does. And the Kansas City Chiefs usually make this play. This is just a drop by the tight end, which could have ended up in a touchdown, and more than likely would have for this Kansas City Chiefs team. So these are the type of things. Look, Dan, Key, and we all make great points about how you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The reality is you need a little help from them as well. Like, that's how good this football team is. Like, you need them to have a mistake. You need Patrick Mahomes to throw in the triple coverage and Jeff Heath pick the ball off. You need those type of plays in order to beat this team, and more so to keep them from being on schedule. They had to go to throwing the football because the Raiders were being explosive and couldn't use Elaire out of the backfield.
Yeah, and one thing that's important to remember, too, is that Andy Reid's team's always strong off the bye week. In fact, he's 18-3 coming off the bye in his career. Adam, the Raiders put 7 more players in the COVID-19 reserve list yesterday. What's the latest on this today?
Well, Lord, they'll remain there, and as long as they test negative, they'll be activated and eligible to play in Sunday's night game. But you see the names right there. A slew of defensive players. Jonathan Abram, obviously, Jonathan Hankins, some key players, LaMarcus Joyner, Cleveland Farrell. So they've got a lot of players out there that may not be able to play on Sunday night. They are not the only team in the league dealing with this. Tim McManus, the ESPN reporter, reported today that the Eagles wide receiver, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, tested positive. A couple of other Eagles wide receivers in close contact as well. This is something that's going on right now with every team in the league.
Yeah, and Adam, you're keeping us updated on all of it. You'll be with us all show long, and we are just getting started on NFL Live. Cam Newton and the Pats have a measly 4 wins through 10 weeks, but one analyst still thinks they've got playoff potential. Find out why. Plus, we've got more on tonight's matchup. Russell Wilson's MVP campaign took a hit last week, but the Seahawks QB says he's still swinging. Is he duped? They'll definitely be talking about this one. The Ravens getting their shot at revenge after the Titans knocked them out of the playoffs last year. And Adam, let's begin with some injuries on the Ravens D-line. What can you tell us about the latest?
Well, Laura, so far this week, Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams have not practiced, which looks like they will not be available for Sunday's game against Tennessee. That would be a blow to Baltimore's defensive line. The offensive line already is missing talent. Now the defensive line as well. A lot of injuries in Baltimore, Laura.
Yeah, and for me, that's a huge issue, Shefty, because, look, Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams are 2 stalwarts in the interior of this defensive line. And the New England Patriots rushed for 172. They gave up 5.5 yards a carry. And then to Burkhead, they gave up 5.2 yards a carry. They have to figure out how to get that fixed ASAP in order to win this game.
Marcus, if they plan on winning this football game, they can't have any more excuses. Don't talk about the rain and the weather. Don't care about who's stealing your signs or your signals or barking out what you do. Just play football. Don't allow those sort of things to get into your head, young fella, because if that happens, Lamar Jackson, you're going to be in trouble for a long time.
I'm going to go to the other team. And for the Tennessee Titans, 2 things. One, got to stop with the drops. The drops have become a part of this offense. And this offense needs those big playmakers to constantly make them. And so when Ryan Tannehill delivers that ball, A.J. Brown, Davis, the tight ends, Jonnu Smith, make those catches. And then also, let's get back to creating some big plays in this passing game. They're going to be needed this weekend against Baltimore.
Yeah, both the Titans and the Ravens enter this week's game struggling offensively, ranking in the bottom of the league in QBR and scoring offense since Week 7. Kind of shocking considering how they started the season. ESPN's Football Power Index favors Baltimore, giving them a 68% chance to win. Let's get to the Patriots. It's been an up and down season for the Pats, but Cam Newton and company got after those Ravens on Sunday night last week. Newton threw and rushed for a touchdown in some brutal weather in Foxborough, and the Pats finally got their run game going behind Damian Harris. It was New England's second straight win following a 4-game losing streak. So the Patriots certainly have some work to do to try and get to the playoffs. There's a chance, though. New England opened the season with a 56% chance to make it, according to FPI. After starting 2-1, that soared up to 75%, currently at 16%, largely impacted by that 4-game losing streak we talked about from weeks 4 through 8. The Pats' current 11-year run reaching the postseason, the longest in NFL history. So, Keith, that's what the numbers say, 16% chance right now. Is this a playoff team?
Oh, so I was that analyst you were talking about earlier.
I was talking about you. That's it. Yeah, spoiler alert. We've told everyone it was you.
Yeah, look, here's what I would say. Yes, they have an opportunity. The Bills still have to play the Dolphins. The Dolphins still have to play New England again. They all play each other. When you look at New England's schedule, they're 4-5 right now. They go to Houston. That's 5-5.
Okay.
Then you look at Arizona, a team coming from the desert to the dome, from the desert to a place where it's cold. Coming outside, it's totally different. Then you go to the Chargers. It's not a great football team, great young quarterback. They can't win that game. They may lose the Ram game. The Dolphins, they probably win that game. They know the Dolphins really well, even though the Dolphins are playing great. They had the Bills on the rope. Then they got the Jets. Outside of that, you can't tell me they can't win a number of those games and put themselves in playoff contention.
Dan, really fast. They FPI right there was saying 50% or better for, what, 6 of those? Look
Right.
like?
You know the Bruce Arians gif when he's like looking at the sidelines? Like, that's when Key said that they were going to maybe beat the Rams. And
No, I didn't say beat the Rams.
You
I said
maybe.
they're going to take an L to the Rams.
But then you were like, you're going to beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins, for
and if
sure.
they had the Chiefs, they'd beat the Chiefs.
No, I wouldn't say that, Dan.
Here's
No,
my
I'm
thing.
not making stuff up, buddy.
Here's my thing. I don't see this. I think the Patriots are a good team, but they're not a playoff caliber football team. One, don't get caught up in that Ravens game too much. Like, this was, no pun intended, the perfect storm. They're playing against a team that's been struggling offensively in Baltimore. They're playing against atrocious weather, or in atrocious weather, and 2 starting defensive tackles were out of the football game. So, yes, if New England gets to play against that every week, where the offense is bad, 2 defensive tackles are out of that game to help the run, like, then I could see them getting to 7 or 8 wins.
I can't wait to see you like week 15.
Me
You're
too.
sitting here looking crazy.
I was the person in the preseason who told them they weren't going to be any good either.
Listen,
I'm just
we'll
telling
all be
you.
here week 15,
And here's my
so we
thing,
can
like,
see each other.
what about New England offensively do you think, like, they're doing really well outside of 21 run with the fullback on the field? They're doing that well.
They've winning football games 2 in a row. They should have had 3 in a row. If Cam doesn't fumble, it's probably 3 in a row.
But I
don't care about statistics. I care about the W's at the end of the day.
Yeah, but for you to say they should have had 3 in a row, I could very easily say they should have lost the Jets.
No,
game
you
as well.
could. You could say that.
Right.
But
Okay.
it didn't happen, is all I'm saying.
Sure.
So, Marcus, either way, it is a game of inches most of the time. What do you think about the Patriots?
They ain't going to no damn playoffs. I don't know what she talking about.
Okay,
They ain't making no
I'm gonna leave it alone.
playoffs with that anemic offense that they have. I'm looking at these games, and I understand the logic. Like, they lost a close one to Seattle, and they played Kansas City down to the wire. The bottom line is this: that production from that offense is not going to give you enough wins to get into the playoffs, especially with these teams. They not going to, based on what we're watching now. Now, something could change, or it could be some injuries happen or whatever. Based on what we're watching now, they not beating the Bills and they not beating Miami. That's number 1. So that's their division. They can take them off the board. The Rams are out there. And might I add, don't sleep this weekend on the Houston Texans.
Preach.
Don't think that that's just going to be a layup for this football team, especially we've seen some of the deficiencies that they have defensively with Deshaun Watson walking in. I don't believe it. Like, Key, I'm with you. You believe it. That's your thing. You stand on it. Based on what I've watched from the New England Patriots, I don't think it's sustainable enough for them to make a playoff run with how bad they are offensively.
I do think that they can, and I think when you look at the situation within the division, they're not far behind. You guys, they will be 5-5 after Sunday.
They're far behind
They're
the Bills.
not far behind. I understand you like the Bills and you like Josh Allen. They had them on the ropes. They should have closed that game out. All I'm going to say is I will see you week 15,
Bet.
and I will remember this day.
Bet.
Hey,
I'm aware.
More egg on the face.
I'm aware
trust
a
me.
Dolphins or a Bills jersey.
Hey, here. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. And listen, you'll be wearing a Patriots jersey. Either way, the good thing is the tape is there, so we'll be able to find out who's right and who's
I
wrong.
don't know why I picked 15.
I don't know. But you did mention Josh Allen. He's been on the Dan wagon. Key, it's time for your favorite part of the week.
Okay.
Come on, Key!
Dan wagon!
All right, here's the thing, though, Key. You're gonna like the Dan wagon this week, though, because we all know we've had some hits, Key, right? Like you talked about Herbert pre-haircut. That's a good thing. Someone balled out the other night on Monday Night Football. Last week we put McLaurin. I'm not gonna give away who we're gonna put up this week. Maybe I'll put them on my face, right? I'm not gonna give away who we're going to put it on this week. I'll only say this, Key. You're going to like it because we're going to something a little bit more of a warm weather climate, okay? I know you don't like the cold in Connecticut right now. My skin hurts me.
Oh,
the bandwagon's going to go to the warm weather.
Tom Brady. Tom Brady.
Turnovers.
I have to be better.
Snap to Wilson, quick throw over the middle, picked off!
Hill advised pass by Russ.
Ball's out, they script it, Wilson turns it over.
These are mistakes that veterans should not be making.
Wilson throws to his right, intercepted!
We just have to tighten up some things. We'll be back stronger, we'll be better.
It's been a tale of two seasons for Russell Wilson. He led the NFL with 19 touchdown passes and just 3 turnovers, as well as an 83 QBR in the first 6 weeks. In the last 4 games, though, Wilson's QBR has dropped off by 17 points with a league-high 10 turnovers. It's also the most turnovers Russ has had in a 4-game span in his NFL career. He said this week none of that will change his mindset.
I think Vince Lombardi said something about that one time. I think he talked about just, the man who's on top of the mountain didn't just get there, and the guys that can keep getting up and keep swinging, those are the players and those are the teams that keep overcoming. And what I do know about myself, I'm an overcomer. I'm a guy that just, I've been doubted before, one thing about me is, I'm going to keep swinging like I told you guys.
So Russ is going to keep swinging. One thing to note, there's a very high chance of rain here around kickoff, about 50 degrees. So you wonder about the turnovers in that scenario. But back to Russ's mindset, Dan, do you understand where he's at right now?
Yeah, I've been in this situation as the backup quarterback with 2 guys in the NFL. Matt Schaub was one, and then Matthew Stafford was another, where these guys would play such good football, and we would lose 41-38 or 38-35, and they'd be balling out of their minds. And then they'd get into this thought process, because everyone's got to remember, these guys are hyper competitive. Russell Wilson is still he talked about it himself, like the doubted guy, that 3rd-round pick. And so they start to think, okay, the only way for our football team to win, because that's all they care about. That's all Russell Wilson wants to do is go win the game. The only way to do that is to try and go, be Superman, right? Score as many points as you can, because that's the only opportunity. You just scored 38 and lost. And I'd sit on the bus all the time with Matthew Stafford, and I'd just look at him, and he'd be like, I played so great, but -2 plays, and we end up losing the game because of those 2 uncharacteristic decisions where you go, why did you do that? And then you realize, he's doing that because he thinks that's the only chance that they have to win the football game. And having those conversations week after week, there was 2 things that I would always try to drill home to him. I'd always tell him, listen, Matthew, you can't play, no matter what you think, you can't play linebacker, and you can't play safety, and you can't play cornerback. You just got to play quarter. And I'd always finish it with this. The best version of yourself is when you were singularly focused on leading our football team rather than carrying our football team. And I think that's where Russell needs to get back to. Just lead and play the best quarterback you can.
Dan, you make a great point with that, man, but I'm going to go to the opposite side of that conversation, being in those shoes. How about everybody else on this team lift Russ? How about everybody else step up a little bit more and not let it fall all on their shoulders to make plays? And I'm not saying that other guys aren't playing well. That's not my point. But your quarterback is pressing because he's worried about a defense that's giving up a lot of yards. That's the reality of it. We haven't seen Russ turn the football over at this rate in his career, let alone being in games with opportunities to win them and making poor decisions. That's a reflection on everybody else. We talk about this team game. We talk about making plays and doing the things that we need to do in order to win as a team. We lauding right now the Miami Dolphins because they're winning in all phases of the game. Each unit is lifting up each unit. We looked at Jimmy Garoppolo threw 8 passes last year in the NFC Championship, and the San Francisco 49ers run game and defense lifted that team and made them better than what they were. So it's a challenge to the guys across the ball from Russell Wilson on his team.
Yeah.
Go make plays. Give your quarterback some more possessions. You lift up your level of play so he doesn't have to carry instead of lead.
Yeah, and maybe a challenge, too, to his offensive weapons. One of those guys, DK Metcalf, a couple weeks ago, Key, we're talking about this guy's rise to be #1 receiver. We're trying to convince you to put him in your top 5 receivers all time. We kind of got you there. What happened against the Rams last week?
I shouldn't have listened to y'all, though. I know, if anything I know the damn receiver position. And I shouldn't have listened to Marcus and Dan, and I did. I just shouldn't have. But when you look at it, it's just not Ramsey. You got to go back to the Bills game as well. Yeah, Chief touchdown at the end. Ramsey shuts down everybody pretty much in the National Football League. But single coverage. If you're supposed to be that guy, you've got to beat single coverage. In 3 games in his career, DK Metcalf against the Arizona Cardinals, 3 catches, 28 yards. You can't be the guy doing that. But I was forced to put him in there with Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, and I know better. I knew I should have waited. I knew I should have waited. Not that he's bad, he's just not there yet.
Yeah,
not there yet.
Listen, we'll see what he does tonight. Maybe he can get there yet for you. Time for some smart lineup decisions brought to you by IBM Watson.
Listening
and
to them,
informed
man.
by IBM Watson. And DK Metcalf hopes to avenge this Cardinals loss back in Week 7, where he was held to 2 catches for 23 yards like he referenced. But don't let that sway you from starting him on the fantasy front. IBM projects Metcalf with a ceiling for this week's affair of 22.8 points, the 5th highest mark among wideouts. And speaking of Metcalf, he is the subject of our latest ESPN cover story. You see him right there. A journey that began with a broken neck and a draft day snub might end with the next all-time great quarterback-receiver pairing. Check it out now on ESPN.com. All right, this week, we got to find out who's going to be on the Dan wagon. Go ahead, Dan.
Going Justin Jefferson.
Great thing about Justin Jefferson is he can also dance. He's got great moves.
I've done it on the show.
I know.
We've had Herbert, we've had Gronk, we've had Key's favorite player, Josh Allen.
Key loves the Dan wagon.
Derek Carr has earned the right to get on the Dan wagon.
Toot toot, Dan wagon. Next on NFL Live. All right, it's time, Dan, for the Dan wagon. What do we got? Who's on it this week?
Who's on it this week? I'm looking for him.
Oh, no.
They ain't giving me my face.
Oh, no.
Oh, wait.
Did you do this?
Listen, where's the camera? Okay, listen, I told you, Key, we were going to go down south to something warm weather. Tua, come on the Dan wagon. I know I had a little bit of doubt, like, are you really ready to play? 2 things that I'd love to see you do. You know exactly where the ball needs to go, right? A little pump fake on that bootleg. Get the ball. How about that ridiculous play? Terrible snap. Don't worry. I'll get it. Instincts, reactions. Throw up that one-on-one ball in the fade. How about this? Play action, stare one side, get the ball out quickly as my back foot gets out. I love that. That's what we saw at Alabama. This is called getting your hips flipped one side to the other. Little RPO action. 2 things that have stood out for me with Tua that has gotten him, on that, I don't know what that was, but on the Dan wagon, hopping on the wagon, getting the ball out in about 2.5 seconds, right? That's one of the fastest in the NFL. That's helping your offensive line. And 2, they've gotten to the red zone with him 10 times, 8 touchdowns. 8 out of 10 trips in the red zone have become touchdowns. That is a ridiculous pace. If you could be like 60, 70%, you got a great offense. So, Tua, I don't have your face. They didn't give me the face, but what we do have is a giant dolphin. Tua, welcome to the wagon. Now, maybe it's like a jet ski this week because we're in the water.
I'm going to jump on it.
Can we get that? Can we get the vertical?
Yeah, I'm going to get on there. Okay, wait 1 second. I'm in the Dan wagon, and we should note that Tua is listed with a foot injury. The Dolphins on the Dolphins.
Now you guys tell me.
There you go.
But he did fully participate in practice on Wednesday. He's expected to play, so don't worry.
Dolphins fans, stop yelling at me. Tua's on the Dan wagon.
We're done here. All right, speaking of quarterbacks, let's get Adam Schefter back in for some quick reads on some other signal callers. Adam, what do we know about Teddy Bridgewater's health?
Well, Laura, he was a limited participant in practice for a second straight day. Extremely limited, in the words of Matt Rule. and it's becoming more and more likely that he's going to be unable to go. Now, the Panthers have not said whether it would be P.J. Walker or Will Greer, but they need Teddy Bridgewater to come back soon. Doesn't look like that may be happening in time. Drew Lock practiced in time today, got back out on the field, has that rib injury. Still don't know whether he can go. He was limited during practice today. He still is in pain, does not have fractured ribs, but has got a severe strain. He's got some muscle damage in there. We'll see whether he can fight through that to play. And Lions running back DeAndre Swift was a non-participant in practice today due to the concussion that he suffered at some point between practice yesterday and today, because he did practice yesterday, was not out there today. That's not a good sign for his availability on Sunday. And the Green Bay Packers were without Devontae Adams during practice today. He is dealing with an ankle injury that had him limited on Wednesday, did not practice at all today, so he's going the opposite direction right now. Not a good sign for his availability on Sunday. And the New Orleans Saints, who already are without Drew Brees, were without Alvin Kamara during practice today due to a foot injury. No practice for him on a Thursday. Not a good sign for his availability on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. So there will be no Drew Brees right now. There might not be any Alvin Kamara. And also, one other note, spoke to the Texans CEO Cal McNair today, and he talked about the fact that his team is in the hunt for a new head coach, a new general manager. Jack Easterby, who is sort of the interim GM, will not be the GM there next season. He's assisting in the process, but they are on the hunt looking for a general manager and a head coach right now, Laura.
Yeah, great stuff. And coming up on NFL Live, you're going to tell us about Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. Some interesting numbers. Brady and the Bucks, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 6. And listen, Rams QB Jared Goff could have his hands full Monday night. Tampa's D can get after the quarterback, blitzing 42% of the time, which has led to the second most sacks in the NFL. Both marks trail only the Steelers. Great defense there. And they've defeated their pass blocks within 2.5 seconds, 53% of the time. That's third best in the NFL. So, Dan, are there holes, though, in this defense that Sean McVay and the Rams can try and expose?
You know what the Bucs defense has started to become over the past couple weeks? They've started to become that defense that, you know, the ball can go over the top of their heads. And Sean McVay is the best clue grabber in the NFL when it comes to tape. He's going to watch these defensive backs, Jamal Dean with bad eyes, and go, oh, clue, I can go some play action pass towards him. Now, you know what? Carlton Davis, you got bad eyes too. Like, I know I can manipulate you. How about maybe I want to go double move Carlton Davis because you're looking in the backfield at the wrong spot. And that's what Sean McVay is going to do. He's got clues that he's going to see on tape. Oh, you got bad eyes when I go play action your side. You got bad eyes on 2nd and 8 when you want to sit on the sticks. And so he doesn't need these guys to have bad eyes for 70 snaps. He needs them to have bad eyes for 3 snaps and hit on them. And so that's what Sean McVay is going to do. He's going to look at those corners and go, I'm going to take advantage of your over-aggressive eyes and your poor eye discipline and try to create some shots downfield.
I love when Dan Orlovsky talks defense. I really do. It warms my heart to see him talk
Take him
about
over
defense.
To the bad side.
And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going and reiterating what he is saying. Listen, this is not the same Bucs defense that we were lauding and going crazy about at the beginning of the season. And big part of that is what Dan just explained about being able to be taken advantage of on double moves and giving up big plays. That's been their issue. For all intents and purposes, the New York Giants could have beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by 2 touchdowns if Daniel Jones hits 3 of those deep balls because the cornerbacks were looking in the backfield. They have to get back to that. Nothing's going to change about what Todd Bowles likes to do. They feel like they should have corners on the outside that can man up and give enough time for the blitz to get home. Devin White, Levante David, the guys we talked about, and also being able to rush with 4 and keep everything in front of you. And then Goff struggled. The last time we saw him struggle was against the Miami Dolphins defense that heated them up. Pressure after pressure after pressure. Zero coverage. But you know what the difference is? Xavier Howard and Byron Jones looks at the receivers when they are in zero pressure, as opposed to trying to steal something by looking in the backfield. That's what the Bucs have to get to on their back end, which allows their front 7 to get after people.
Yeah, speaking of pressure, Key, Tom Brady really doesn't like it and has not performed well against the pressure and against defenses that would do that this year. When you think about Aaron Donald on the other side for Brady and what he's going to have to contend with this Rams defense, what are the challenges for him?
It's a lot of challenges. I think when you look at it, Jalen Rep. So great defenses have a guy at every level. Yeah. You have a guy at the linebacker position, someone at the defensive line, maybe multiple guys, but somebody in the back end. And the Rams got Jalen Ramsey. So you put him over there, whoever you want. Who you want? You want Brown? You want Evans? Who do you want? Okay, I got that. We'll double somebody else, and we'll force Tom Brady to find Gronkowski. If you beat us with Gronkowski, great, you win the football game. But I know Aaron Donald will be sitting in his lap multiple times in this football game, whether it's the sacks, whether it's just pure pressure, whether it's hovering around the legs, any of those sort of things, getting Brady off his mark is key. And I think when you look at it, the Rams defense don't allow the ball to be pushed down the field. They keep everything in front of them, and they rally to make the tackles. It's going to be tough, but it could happen.
Yeah, you know, the one thing about Tom Brady is he likes Monday Night Football usually. In fact, he's 18-7 on Monday Night Football. Only Dan Marino and Brett Favre had more wins on Monday night than
I thought you were
Brady.
about to say Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah, not you, Dan.
Jeez.
Sorry. That's so funny.
I didn't say anything. I just said
All right, anyway, guys, Kyler Murray, we're going to talk about next. He has proven to be one of the most mobile QBs in the league. He's got mixed feelings about quarterbacks on the run. Dan's got some insight. That's next on NFL Live. And NFL Live is brought to you by KFC's $20 fill-up. Get contactless delivery or order ahead at kfc.com. Time now to check in at the Domino's pregame headquarters. And for that, we bring in Adam Schefter once again. Adam, we know Kyler Murray is having a great season, but just how great are we talking about here?
Well, Laura, if you just put it up in comparison to Lamar Jackson, who was a unanimous MVP last season, and look at the numbers and compare them, just take a look. Kyler Murray has more yards and more touchdowns and nearly the same QBR through 9 games compared with Lamar Jackson last year when he was the unanimous MVP. The numbers are right there. What that tells you is if the Cardinals make the type of run that they want to, they continue to stay in the playoff race, Kyler Murray should be right in the thick of the MVP conversation at this point in time. There's no reason not to. The numbers compare to Lamar Jackson from last year. He's been a star, and again, he'll try to continue that tonight against the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, Adam, Kyler on pace to become the first player in NFL history with 4,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards in a season. Just remarkable, these numbers. And the Cardinals' rushing attack has been on point in 2022, especially their ability to employ the zone read and manipulate defenses effectively with Kyler Murray. Arizona leads the NFL with 6 rushing touchdowns on zone read, all of which were scored by Murray in the red zone. The Cardinals have rushed for 400 yards with 12 explosive plays using zone read, figures that trail only the Ravens. Dan's at the touchscreen. Let's go, Dan. How difficult is it to defend Kyler right now?
Yeah, life is good. It's so difficult because it's always about numbers. It's always about math, and they do math better than anybody, especially in the red zone in the NFL right now. Think about it like this. If you come out as an offense and you want to put 5 offensive linemen and 2 tight ends in the game, right? You've got 7 guys that are going to be part of your run game. Now, as a defense, which is what the Bills do, they really have 8 guys in their box, right? 4 defensive linemen, 4 second-level defenders. They're in an okay place. Now, when you use the quarterback as a run game aspect, what you do is you take that 8 on defense and really make it 7, because I can give one of those guys to the quarterback and get him in that zone read. That's exactly what Arizona does. They're going to put that defensive end in a bind. That defensive end, if he goes and stays outside and waits for Kyler to carry the ball, man, that tailback's going to just carry that ball up inside, and you got a huge seam. Now, if he bites down, this is where it gets dangerous, and this is why Arizona's so good. Even if he just commits a little bit, this is a mismatch. This mismatch is so big. Kyler Murray against defensive ends, he's faster, he's quicker, he's more sudden. That defensive end commits a little bit. You have 2 lead blockers on the out edge. That's an easy touchdown. Now listen, I want to bring Marcus in because this is something that defenses need to adjust to. You can't do what Buffalo did on that play. So I want to bring the big fella in to talk about something that Seattle can do tonight to try and slow down this quarterback run game. First of all, Marcus, you see that defensive end, right? Talk to me about what that defensive end needs to do at his role.
Yeah, Dio, he has to attack Kyler's upfield shoulder and just try to destroy that mesh point to speed up the operation, or you may get lucky and tackle the ball carrier. But in doing so, you also got to have somebody refill the area that he's voiding.
So you're talking about once he commits, that safety needs to drop down and do what?
That safety needs to fill that lane that DN just left, and he needs to attack Kyler in the upfield shoulder and make sure he tries to turn everything back inside. But you'll show the conundrum, I'm sure.
So to start, that defensive end needs to blow up the quarterback mesh, and then that safety needs to come down to anticipate either that ball getting handed off to the back or Kyler carrying it. Okay, so that's the first step. But you said something to me before about the numbers in the box. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, you look at this formation, right, and you see that the Arizona Cardinals, in my view, has everything set the strength to the left of their formation.
Okay.
You have to bump those linebackers over to regain leverage, to get enough people in the box so you're not one man short when they win and if they decide to run this RPO.
So you're saying, because like this backside safety right here on the play that we showed originally when it was the touchdown, he didn't even do anything. Like, he was back here kind of wasting. You're saying kick everybody towards the strength of that formation and really truly commit your 8 numbers in the box. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Use him. Use him not only to change the blocking leverage for the offensive line, but also cut back. If he has the responsibility of getting cut back as well.
Now, I would say this. The only thing that happens when you commit these numbers in the box like that is you're exposed in coverage, right? You got one-on-one down here with this corner. That's why you need to play what I love to call an invert coverage. That corner, he really needs to go kind of play like half field. He's got to play half field. And then that safety, that Marcus, that safety that you talked about, he needs to what? He needs to respect the run, but also then drop out under the coverage and play kind of that cover 2 corner that we know, right?
Absolutely. Take that quick throw away and also be ready for anything that's coming out backside pass as well, Dio.
I love it. Listen, this is easy for me to get on the iPad and to drop and whatnot. I'll tell you this story. So I sent that play to a buddy of mine named John Hooley, really good defensive mind as a coach. And I sent him a text message that said, what would you do in this play? And he sent me back Kyler with a question mark. And I said, yeah. And he said, call timeout. So that sounds good, but it's really difficult.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Key's trying to call timeout on this whole thing because, Key, when it comes to running quarterbacks, what did you feel about them when you played with them?
I did not like them.
Yeah.
I don't like running quarterbacks. I play receiver. I need a pencil neck like Dan that can't run away from his own shadow. That's what I need. I don't need Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. They're good at what they do. There's no question about it. But I want somebody who's going to deliver me the football. Now, when they pull it down and they run, you still got to stay alive as a wide receiver because it's extremely important to keep working for that quarterback because you don't know if he's going to pull up and throw. That's the bind that you're in at the receiver position. I used to hate it, though, Laura. I'm running a route and the dude pull it down and run. I'm like, you didn't even give me a chance to break out of my route.
You'll be like, did you see my great route I just ran? And then you didn't even do anything. Hey, he did throw a nice ball to DeAndre Hopkins the other day.
Here I thought Key was a team guy. You know, like I thought Key was a team guy.
I'm a block for you. No, I'm a block for you and everything.
Hey.
But I know damn well you better stop running and deliver the football, man. That's why they paying me.
It depends on the day for whether Key's a team guy or not. Time for one more thing before we go, and that's our game picks. We're totally split on this. Dan, you first. Who are you taking tonight?
I'm going with the Cardinals, mainly because I don't believe in that Seattle defense. That Seattle defense has undisciplined eyes on their back end. They don't communicate well. There's too many opportunities for the ball to go over their head or create chunk passes, and they're not great at stopping the run. I believe in this Cardinals offense a lot more than I believe in this Seattle defense. I'll take Arizona.
Yeah, call me old-fashioned, but I'm going to take Russ to come back strong and get this big fella involved early and often in this game. If you remember DK Metcalf, all of the games that he's left his imprint on, the Seattle Seahawks have walked away with a win. Get him involved early and often, and Russ, even if somebody is close to him, throw the damn ball up in the air.
This is easy for me. I'm taking Seattle. They're at home despite not really having the 12th man in the stands, but they'll get a little bit of showers, a little bit of rain. Plus, when you think about it, Jamal Adams along with Dunlap, they're in this mix right now. You talked about a safety, Marcus, coming downhill, making the tackles. Well, what you think Jamal's going to do?
Just 3 hours
sir.
away from the
Yes,
start
sir.
of Week 11, guys. This one is going to be so good. I think the momentum will carry over from that Hail Mary that Dan said what